Greetings, family. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV Every Time Fire. Alongside my priest, my big brother, elder priest, the Honorable Priest Isaac, who, again, I'm happy that this brother chose to give me an eyebrow and give me some of his time on Baba TV. And as before he goes into the subject matter, who says Israelites are not Africans?
Yeah.
I just want to do priest on the news today, in light of all of what's going on here. You see on the news, they starting to give little bit of Black histories. Some, guiltiness will make you, when you're guilty, it would make you turn on yourself and do a lot of things you wouldn't normally do. They talking about Black Wall Street now on the news. I said, what? Yeah. No, you want to talk? Oh, we do some horrible things. Black people had their own self-sustaining community. And that's true, white folks. But don't stop there. Don't stop there. I want to show you I'm learning, priest. I'm learning.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Right there.
Ja. Rastafari.
The Honorable Leonard Percival Howell, from my overstanding from my teachers, and the Honorable Priest Isaac is one of them.
Pinnacle.
Go to Jamaica, and it was more Black Wall Streets all over the Caribbean. And this beloved brother right here was, I believe, the first priest to set up sustaining communities up in the hills, in the Jamaica in particular.
Jamaica specifically,
untouched. So I just wanted to touch on that, priest.
Mm-hmm. Yes, my brother. Well, yes, for your audience who may not know that, that's one of our patriarchs there, the Honorable Brother Leonard P. Howell. But just before I even delve into that, you touched upon, you hearing me good, right? Let me just make sure you can hear me properly and everything. Clearly, okay. Yeah, let me just touch upon the situation, as you said in the news. I myself was saying, well, interestingly, the news have been touching here and there, obviously because the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, was supposed to, I think, have a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, would have been yesterday on Juneteenth. And I guess because of the outcry of the people, he changed it to today. Maybe all know that must be going on. And I think he actually even went as far as to say he didn't know about the holiday. And one of his Secret Service agents, whatever the right term is, a black one, by the way, an African American, told him that, hey, yeah, man, this is what's going on there, June 19th, etc., etc. And I believe most of your audience would have an idea of that history. I know a great amount of your listeners may be in the United States too. I'm here in the Caribbean, as you mentioned. I'm in Antigua, but still I have an idea from my understanding, for those who may not know, in 1963 and 1863, when Abraham Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation came out in early January. Apparently it took about 2 years, I think it's 1865, the 19th of June, for the word to get to some of the slaves there in Texas. So basically this time, June 19th or Juneteenth, is seen, especially for those from that region, as the day where they really got the word and got the understanding of the freedom coming in, and they freed up themselves. So basically, for a person like Mr. Trump to want to come and have a rally and breaking all the rules of COVID and social distancing and all these kind of stuff, and coming with his mentality into an area where we have basically sacred at a time where we consider a very special time to us in history. Well, we saw that as an insult. Then he went and add injury to such, or insults the injury, to say that, well, I never heard about this holiday and I made it famous. But as you said, now it's on the news, and again, Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you didn't know about it, well, at least you got some little bit of history, as you said, over this weekend. But you showed Brother Leonard P. Howell, and he is the founder of Pinnacle. And as I said, along with individuals like Dunkley and Hubert, these ones, once I know you did a program with that brother Garfield, and he went into some good details as it relates to the history of these brothers and how they, collaborated, and maybe whatever little differences they may have, but or had at the time. But Leonard P. Howell stands out as the individual who rose the standard of Pinnacle. And up at Pinnacle, basically, as you were alluding to, there was a lot of, well, you could say we were self-sufficient, following the orders of Marcus Messiah Garvey, as Brother Howell was also a follower of Marcus Messiah Garvey. And really, in general, because they planted their own crops, their food, they used to go to the market and sell. They had a whole knitting and sewing industry going on right there at Pinnacle. So, of course, the enemy came in and trampled it, and they even eventually put Brother Leonard P. Howell in the mental institution. And nothing was wrong with him, It's just that his concept, and he was praising Emperor Haile Selassie I, one of the early forerunners of such a concept, that Haile Selassie I was the returned Messiah. So in the old days, you saying them kind of thing is crazy, crazy. How you talking about is Jesus and King George we praising here, and you talking about Haile Selassie. So he was put in the mental institution. He had thousands of followers up at Pinnacle. Is not no bush mud hut, no disrespect to the mud hut, but it was no bush behind the bush mud hut sort of environment Brother Leonard P. Howell had. He had well built houses, almost like apartments, fully furnished up there in Pinnacle. And as I said, the industry, and ganja was a part of the industry as well. But of course, the enemy came in and stopped it. And you had similar examples of that even in different parts of the Caribbean as well. Even right here in Antigua, maybe not up to that standard, and even prior to that, maybe in the 1800s. A lot of the Maroons, because they had Maroons all over the Caribbean. It wasn't just Jamaica. When they used to run, for example, here, when they ran up in what is known as the Shirkley Mountains, those are our highest peaks here in Antigua. They had their own settlement because the slave master was actually afraid to go amongst them, So they had their own settlement. At that time, of course, slavery was still going on as such, but even in that environment, we established ourselves, we fed ourselves, we planted our own crops. So those runaway slaves that you hear about, when are just slaves that ran away, hiding behind the tree and running from the hound dogs. I mean, we got away, and we went into an environment where we know that the slave master was afraid to come, and we set up our own industry, our own hospitals, our as I said, our own agricultural system. It may not be to the standard of even what we had at Pinnacle, because Pinnacle was in post-slavery, the post-slavery era, so-called post-slavery, but we know slavery is still going on. But you know what I mean? It was a different time. Jamaica was basically black rule, supposedly, but it was a different time, a different environment. But we always had that mentality. Even our good brother Dubtronics, brother Israel, he once did an interview with an elder known as Raspidau. Raspidau is one of our ancient, patriarchs as well, after Leonard P. Howell, of course, but he's one of our ancient patriarchs, Raspidau. And in that interview that Brother Israel did with Raspidau, Raspidau was speaking about another establishment within the Rastafari, organization, which is Bobo Hill in Jamaica. And Raspidau now, he's not necessarily a Bobo Shanti, but obviously in his interview, we had high honors for the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. He definitely showed high respect to him. And he was saying that the Bobo Shanti headquarters, Bobo Shanti Hill, which is in a place known as Bull Bay, 9 miles Bull Bay, St. Andrew, Jamaica. He's saying that there was a time, King Emmanuel himself rose a certain standard where they were selling brooms and mats and different things they were creating for themselves. But he said now that the standard was so high that there was a time when in Jamaica that the Jamaican government could not pay the people. Now Jamaica may be an island, but Jamaica is almost like, a city or maybe a state in the US then by itself. And the government couldn't feed the people. And Prince Emmanuel, according to Elder Pido, a Bingy man, Prince Emmanuel took finance that they had earned and gave the government so that a specific sector or section of the poor people could get paid. So that is just to show you, even as a people, when we follow the standard of Marcus Garvey say, if a people left alone, give us 50 years unmolested, and we build 50 years, it may sound like a long time, but that's little. Give us 50 years unmolested, and we will build an empire greater than any we have built in the past. That's Marcus Garvey. Yes, my Lord, blessed.
That's a very, very valuable history right there. All right, priest, I don't want to take up any more time. We want to get into the subject matter. Who says Israelites are not Africans? Well, if I could just add a little something, we know that the highest order of a human being is an African. So then that tells, just common sense tells me that if the Israelites are a high moral and a high standard of folk, then it must be an African. They must have been African. There's no way that they could not have been African. So with that being said, I'm not the teacher here. I'm in the classroom like everybody else is in the classroom. Go right ahead, my brother. Go right ahead.
Yes, my brother. Now, this subject area, let me say, as you say, it is a classroom. And I just want to be clear here. It's obvious that there are many different outlooks and many different ideas when it comes to who we are. Many different theological outlooks, many different beliefs, I would say, when it comes to who we are. And let me just highlight here that we are not here, let's pull that fan away from me, please. We're not here to try to convince anyone of, let's just say, the truth or what we believe and these different things. I'm not here to fight against no one belief neither. I just want to take a look at a concept as it relates to the Israelites and the Africans. Now, of course, when you speak of Israel, obviously you're coming from a biblical outlook. And yes, I will be highlighting a theological paper that I have put together entitled The Biblical Land of Israel. Now, the Biblical Land of Israel has become a book. It is an e-book, and basically, as I said, started as a theological paper with a concept. The theory basically is that according to the Bible, the land of Israel is Africa plus Arabia according to the biblical geographic description. Let me be clear here. According to the description given in the Bible, the land of Israel, which is the promised land, is Africa plus Arabia. And if that is true, it also would add to the other part of the theory, that the true Israelites spoken of in the book are the melanated people of the earth, which are considered the Africans. And we say melanated people with the specific hair structure of the woolly hair. Now please listen to me good. This is not an argument. Well, it's not an argument at all. But it's not an argument, a discussion about the validity of the Bible. That could be another description or discussion all by itself. We are speaking of a concept in the book known as the Bible. So whether you believe the Bible or not, listen, I always say, even if it was written by Mother Goose, the point is, according to the book, we are the true Israelites, and the land of Israel is Africa, not little Palestine. So even those of us who consider ourselves to be conscious Israelites, yet still we focus on Palestine and consider that Palestine is where the whole shebang is, because that is what we have been given. This is what we have been taught to believe, that that is the land of Israel, not piece of it. That is the land. There may be just a little bit more, but that's basically it. So that is why the whole story is there. Bethlehem is there, Jerusalem is there, and Galilee is there, and everything is there from the biblical narrative. And I'm saying that is not the truth at all. And we are going to go into that now and just state our case. Now, my good brother, I am going to share my screen here with you. Let me make sure I have the right thing here. Can you see that? Let me just be sure.
Yes.
Okay, positive. All right, so this is the book, The True Biblical Land of Israel. And, okay, just pardon me here. Within this book, we basically highlight, as I said, the whole concept of Africa plus Arabia being the land. Now, in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, or chapter 15, pardon me, verse 18, my chapter 1, it says here, in the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Now again, this is Abraham's inheritance. We're following the storyline. We're not looking at this religiously. We're following the storyline. And according to the storyline, there is, whether the story is esoteric, metaphoric, or literal, we're following the storyline. Now, according to the storyline, the patriarch Abraham was given a piece of real estate. Abraham was given a plot of land. And God said that this land is located between the river Euphrates, the great river, and the river in Egypt. Now, it didn't say between, but it's only common sense. If I'm telling you, I'm giving you a piece of land, and this is the boundary. You see the fence over there? That's one boundary. And you see over there by the little stream, you don't pass that. That's the other boundary. That means what's in between the fence and the stream belongs to me. So the Most High is telling Mr. Abraham that you have from the river Euphrates, it's in the book Genesis 50, to the river in Egypt. Now here we have the river Euphrates, as you could see, running through Iraq and Syria and several places there in the Middle East, the place referred to as the Middle East today. And then when you speak about the river in Egypt, it is obvious that we are speaking of, I don't know what else we could be speaking of, but the longest river on the planet Earth. I'm talking about the River Nile. This is the river in Egypt, and in between the river in Egypt and the River Nile, you have much of Northeast Africa. Follow me good. You have much of Northeast Africa, plus the Arabian Peninsula. Now, basically, I also go into within the book the creation of Israel, the state, which took place in 1945. On May 14th, 1945, uh, David Ben Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel. U.S. President Harry S. Truman. Now, how true is this? Harry S. Truman recognized the new nation on the same day. And, we basically go into a little more information as it relates to that. So what I'm saying here, that this area, for those who just may not know, this area here in the Middle East, in the Levant area, Palestine, is basically the modern day Israel. And as you could see, this was recognized in 1945. Of course, I know the academics will argue, yes, it was politically recognized in 1945, but it is from the ancient of times. And I will repeat again, I am not arguing the anciency of the area at all. I'm not arguing that this area is an ancient place with ancient history, but it is not by itself. That little drop by itself is nowhere close to the full understanding of what scripture is speaking about when it talks about the land of Israel. And we can see here, even in the New York Times, the Zionists proclaimed new state of Israel, and Truman recognized it and hopes for peace. And then it still goes on to say, Tel Aviv is bombed, Egypt orders invasion. So, I mean, you could forget about peace there. Now, basically, what I want to establish here now is that although we just highlighted from the river Euphrates to the river in Egypt, I'm sure Bible scholars would understand and even recall that speaking to Moses, God showed Moses that he will expand the land. Expand means to get bigger. And now this expansion, you can see this in the book of Joshua, the first chapter, the first to the fourth verse gives you a good idea of the expansion. Now, my good brother, in the previous program I did with you, we kind of ran through this. But I'm going to take my time even this evening and touch upon some other things that we did not touch upon to prove the point that I'm making. Because one of the things I have noticed, and some brothers have even attacked me for it, it seems like there are those amongst us who are obviously Africans. It doesn't matter what word you want to use. We make so many excuses as if we're not speaking English, trying to bring in some story of Cyprian Africanus and all kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about when I said we are Africans. You know exactly what I mean. So we have some of us who are Africans, yet still somehow in our scientific, our scientific understanding, separate ourselves from our African brothers at home to the point where we say we are different people. So you see yourself as an Israelite, yet still you separate yourself from your brother in Africa who looks just like you. This is the thing that flipped me. Your brother in Africa looks just like you. I mean, we can pull up pictures of some of our brothers and sisters in Africa. Even you, Brother Baba, no disrespect, I think we all know that the eye have certain amount of the Caucasian blood in you, but the eye is an African. And even your Hebrew brothers will tell you so, as from your lineage. And they have Africans, maybe not, that will look just like the eye, the facial features. So all of us as Africans, you can pull up another African somewhere in Africa and it looks just like us, a whole tribe. And we now want to separate ourselves and say, well, no, we are not them. You understand? I'm going to tell you the truth, my brother. A sister reached out to me several years ago now, and this sister, she actually joined a Hebrew Israelite group, and she was accepted and everything. And what happened, I don't know if they didn't do their research properly, but she was born, in the United States and everything. I don't know if the brothers and whoever didn't do their research properly, but they eventually found out that her father is an African. I think he was from Kenya. And they booted her out of the group. I was saying, what kind of madness is that? So what I'm saying, if that's your belief, that's just your belief. But can you definitively prove what you're talking about? And you can't tell me that you can tell a person and who they are just by their attitude. And because the Bible says Simeon and Levi are cruel in their ways, you're going to look at the people from Haiti and say that they are Simeon and Levi because of that alone. I'm telling you, that is not scientifically sound, and it is not scripturally sound. Now let us look at this, the expansion of the land. Now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise and go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. Now let me be clear, we're dealing with geography here, because I know many individuals may try to wrap around this whole vibes and try to put it now into the biblical narrative and these different things. That may be for you to figure out. But I know for sure, according to the geography given here, we're talking about a different kettle of fish. Now, as I said, even in my writings here, we're talking about an expansion. Now, let us be clear. Let's go again. Because I don't want no one trying to feel like, well, this man don't know what he's saying at all. I know people think. So let's start over just quickly and run through this before we continue. From the river Euphrates to the river in Egypt. Now tell me, is there anybody that can tell me we're not talking about, again, the river Euphrates and the river Nile? Fair enough. That's the land. You really don't have a good argument against that. And the land shall be expanded. That's it. That's an expansion. That means getting bigger. So this here, Palestine, could never, ever be the land in its expanded stage. It's impossible. No one will come trying to find an excuse and say, but brother, this is just a piece of the land. No. Hold on. Don't try that. When they set this up in 1944, it wasn't a piece of the land. They were telling you this is the land. This is the promised land. This is why the Mediterranean Sea, look at it here. This is why the Mediterranean Sea is the Great Sea. We just read in the book of Joshua that the boundary mark has moved. Well, it's still the river Euphrates, but the river Nile now, the Gihon, was no longer the boundary mark on the other side. It expanded. That means it got bigger. It has gone now to the Great Sea. And that alone should tell you which sea is the Great Sea. Because if you have, let's look at this map here. I mean, this ain't no time for us to play, man. If you have, let's look at this. You have the river in Egypt. Oh, that's it here. And you have the river Euphrates. Now the land is going to expand and get bigger. So that means we're going to go more past the river Euphrates. No, hold on. We're not passing the river Euphrates. The river Euphrates is still going to be the boundary mark. Oh, so that means if we're getting bigger, that means we got to go beyond the river in Egypt then. That's it. How far are we going until we reach the Great Sea? Which one is the Great Sea? Well, to be honest, if you go beyond the river in Egypt, it's only one sea you're going to run into. It's the Atlantic Ocean. So obviously, it only makes sense. Listen, man, all you have to do is to skip Sunday school, forget what the preacher said, forget what your religious teacher said, pick up the Bible as if this is the first time you ever see or hear about the book, and read it with a clear mind, and you will come with the same conclusion that I have here. But we too religious, we too dogmatic, we too into belief. So what I'm saying here now is this. Well, brother, you know, the Bible was a book that's not what we're talking about. We can have that discussion, but that's not what we're talking about. Wherever you think the Bible came from, even if an alien brought it from Mars, the point is that it is book number one in the world. People use it to confuse and lead people astray. So since this is a key weapon in certain people's arsenal, who I really take strong offense. I mean, I can put away belief and religious ideas to work together. But when you're going to tell me that, number one, you're not an African when you obviously are, then my brothers in Africa, you're going to tell me them is my enemy and you talk of them in such disrespectful ways. Nah, man, I got to stand up for that. That's a different thing altogether. It's not, believe me, if you know me, I'm not into troubling people's ideology. Trust me. I'm not into that. I prefer to sit and hear what you got to say. And I'm not going to argue to you. I don't want no arguing and no long debate and none of these things. But you have, to me, attacked yourself and attacking your own. So I think somebody has to stand up and clarify this. So I'm saying now that the river in Egypt is here. The land has been expanded onto the sea, the Great Sea. So according to that scripture now, and the Jewish people can't say now, oh, well, if the Bible says all of that is our land, let's go for it. The Bible also said that the Israelites are black people. In fact, this is a part of proving that. Now, the so-called Atlantic Ocean, as we say, obviously is the Great Sea. But let me show you this. We touched this previous time, every time fire, but we're going to take a little more time into this. As you could see, you're almost just getting a tour of the book itself. Okay, let me read this first. Chapter 47 in the book of Ezekiel. Reading from verse 18. And basically, yes, we're just taking a few verses. You can't read the whole book, basically. But what chapter 47 is doing, Ezekiel is kind of giving an idea. Many Bibles will have in the caption, it will show you that Ezekiel is showing you the division of the land amongst the Israelites, which within itself is a very deep subject area. And it says here, "And the east side ye shall measure from Huran, and from Damascus, and from Gilead, and from the land of Israel by Jordan, from the border unto the east sea, and this is the east side. And the south side, southward from Tamar, even to the waters of strife in Kadesh, the river of the great sea. And this is the south side, southwards. The west side also shall be the great sea from the border till a man come over against Hamath. This is the west side. So shall ye divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel. So shall you divide this land according to the tribes of Israel. Now I'm saying here that this description is saying, first of all, that you have from the border onto the east side. This is the east side. You shall measure, the Haran, the east side, the east sea. This is the east side. So the east side is the east sea. Now one would argue, well, Haran is somewhere over here. That's modern day stuff. You got to be careful. You have to know. That's why going into your archives now, and I should have had. They have some older maps that I should have really brought those to the forefront today as well, to show you a few name changes from such time. But let me be clear here. Although we can go deeper, let me just show you. I'm not a Hebrew scholar. I do not speak the language, and I know there are those that are listening that would say, you see, I know that the brother is not qualified. He can't even speak Hebrew. Listen, okay. I mean, in all due respect, no, I cannot speak. The most I can say is shadow. You understand? I can't really go no further. But I mean, even if one word may mean something, because I understand that concept. But I think the amount of evidence we have, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, trust me, even when we're done with Every Time Fire tonight, I am promising you it is the tip of the iceberg you would have received, because there are different layers to this, to show that the Israelite, even if you think the Israelites are not literal people, the Israelites, the children of the real lights, is a real concept. And it is the Africans. So that's why when you crystallize it, even in historical form, it must still be the Africans again. And this is why I'm showing you proof that even from a biblical perspective, King James or whoever, that it is showing you clearly that the land of Africa is the promised land of Israel, and the true Israelites are the Africans. The East Sea, brothers and sisters, the East Sea. Now this is Israel. Let us look for the East Sea. There's an East Sea somewhere around here. When you're looking for treasure hunt and you get the map and you get the clues. The East Sea, let's look at a bigger map so we could find it. So it's somewhere here. I know you can't see it, but Israel is somewhere around here in the corner. There should be an East Sea just here, not too far. Meaning that if you go to the eastern border of Israel, you're supposed to close your eyes and be able to jump into a sea. So here we have Israel here. So there should be a sea. There's no sea. There's no sea nowhere around here. The closest sea must be this sea way up here. And this is even over the borderline. You have to go over the river Euphrates to get to this sea here. So this could not be the East Sea. There is to be an East Sea to the east of Israel. So if our theory is correct, that Africa plus Arabia is the true land of Israel, well, we have an East Sea. Some may refer to it as the Indian Ocean. But according to this picture you're looking at, India is nowhere in sight. This one over here is the Atlantic Ocean, named from the continent Atlantis. That's another landmass that is nowhere in sight, whether it's on this picture or in general. but Africa has no ocean. The ancient name, one of the ancient names for the Atlantic Ocean is the Ethiopian Sea, when as the Greeks considered the whole of this land to be Ethiopia. All right. So the East Sea, there's no East Sea for Palestine. We got to move on from that, not making any sense at all. Now, according to Ezekiel, when he speaks about the Great Sea, he says here that the west side also, the west side, no, let's read from verse 19. And the south side southwards from Tamar, even to the waters of strife in Kadesh, the river to the great sea. And this is the south side southward. The west side also, key word, the west side also shall be the great sea, from the border till a man cometh over against Hamath. This is the west side. All right. So what he's saying here, as you see, I stress the word also, because also means, you know, also as well as me too. Let's put it that way. So first he was saying that the west side of Israel was the Great Sea, and the east, the south side, pardon me, the south side was the Great Sea, and the rivers ran into the Great Sea. I'm saying again that the Atlantic Ocean, which is all down here too, is the Great Sea. Now Ezekiel went on to say, and the west side also. So one is complementing the other, is the Great Sea. So the Great Sea is both to the south, and the Great Sea is to the west of the land of Israel. Let us check back with Palestine. Let us see how the Great Sea story is going, because we already disqualified it as it relates to the East Sea. There's no East Sea there. In fact, we didn't have to do all of this, From the river Euphrates to the river in Egypt, this is totally out of whack, but let's just continue so we can concretize our point. So the Mediterranean Sea is the Great Sea. It is considered the Great Sea of today. That's the Mediterranean Sea. All right, fair enough. So the Mediterranean Sea is to the west, the western border of Israel. Not all of the western border, some of the western border of Israel, Palestine, Israel, is the border is shared between Israel and Sinai. Okay, some of it, about maybe 2/5 of it, is shared between Israel and Sinai. I want you to follow this good, So this western border that faces a sea would have to be, the sea would have to be the Great Sea. So when you religiously, the Mediterranean Sea, if you look in some of your Bibles at the back of it where you see your biblical maps, they would give you the Mediterranean Sea. In brackets, you have the Great Sea, because the Great Sea is supposed to be, rightly so, to the west of Israel. I hope you are following me. Good. But the Great Sea, in fact, no, the Mediterranean Sea, I want to make this so clear. The Great Sea is supposed to be to the west and also to the south. So that means if the Mediterranean Sea is the Great Sea, the Mediterranean Sea is supposed to be to the west of Palestine, as it is, and to the south of the same Palestine, as it is not. You can see for yourself, the Mediterranean Sea is a sea all by itself, totally separate from the Red Sea. In fact, only the Suez Canal, which is basically from the 1920s, whenever it was. I mean, that's basically a modern day thing as it relates to the Suez Canal. So you do not have a connection with the sea to the south of Israel and that to the sea to the west of Israel, Palestine, I'm talking about. Now, in reality, even the land of Palestine, Israel here, it doesn't really have a south coast as such. Just a little thing. In fact, here it is. And it is basically shared between Israel and, and Jordan and some of Egypt there. So, and it's actually called the Gulf of Eilat. So the Gulf of Eilat, there's a little gulf, which is basically an extension of the Red Sea, is the only south coast, and it's just a little stuff. It's the only south coast that Palestine has. And even if it was a south coast, it is not the same sea as the sea that is to the west coast. And according again to Ezekiel 47, the Great Sea is to the west as well as to the south. Now, I'm going to give you a few more points before I seal up. I can't give everything. And I must say, I'm right. I cannot give everything. Should I give you this point here? Okay, let me run into this one here quickly. This is a scripture from Joshua chapter 19. It says here that the second lot came forth to Simeon, even for the tribe of the children of Simeon, according to their families, and their inheritance was within the inheritance of the children of Judah. And they had in the inheritance Beersheba or Sheba, Molada. Okay, I'm going to be kind of multitasking here, brother. I'm going to be looking for something. Bam, bam. All right, where am I? All right, let me just leave that for the time. Okay, so what we have here, I was going to look for something, but I didn't want it to confuse even what your screen is showing and mix up everything. So let me just make sure I'm covered here. All right, let me just read this again. Okay, bam, bam, Sheba. Bam, bam. What I'm saying, my brother, and to the audience, from Dan to Beersheba, this is a phrase that you would hear in biblical sense. Any biblical scholar or anyone that reads their Bible regularly, they would hear that term being used, from Dan to Beersheba. When David counted the people, the scripture said, and they went and they numbered the people from Dan to Beersheba. And it is somewhat similar to the terminology we would use, or the phrase when you say from Cape to Cairo. So when a person says from Cape to Cairo, you know that they're speaking of all of known Africa. Now, what I found interesting here, even in light of the scripture that I just read, you would always hear of the place in the Bible known as Sheba. Even one of David's wives, or one of his wives, had that name, Beersheba. Now, it sounds very similar to the ancient kingdom of Sheba. So, for those who may not know, the ancient kingdom of Sheba or Saba was not necessarily named from the Queen of Sheba. Some people argue that the Queen of Sheba is a mythical character. I'm sure you've heard of that one. But although I'm not going to get into that argument now, but the point is the kingdom of Sheba is a real thing. The Queen of Sheba, her name was not Sheba. You know, she was the queen of the place Saba, also called Sheba. So Sheba is a place. That's the point that I'm making here. Sheba is a place. Now we all know historically that Ethiopia and the monarchy of Ethiopia, again, whether you agree or not, we all know that the monarchy and the lineage it claims, descendants from King Solomon and King David, which obviously is the lineage of Judah. So Ethiopia, as an ancient Christian country, considers that the whole Judaic lineage is in Ethiopia. And realistically, that's what it is. So what you consider as the lineage of Judah is in Ethiopia. Sometimes I hear people talk about, wow, do you believe we could find any descendants of King Solomon today? You understand? Totally underlooking what's going on in Ethiopia. So basically, Ethiopia has, to its claim, the lineage of Solomon, the lineage of Judah, the Lion of Judah itself. Ethiopia is considered, and in the division of it all, Ethiopia is seen as Judah land. All right, fair enough. So you could see here on the map, this area here is the area of Sheba. This is Ethiopia and some of Arabia. This is archaeological facts. Whether you believe in Makeda, the Queen of Sheba, or not, we're talking historically sound here. All right. So this is why now when we look at the book of Joshua 19, verse 1 and 2, the distribution of the land, it clearly shows that Judah had in its possession or in its inheritance Beersheba, which is also referred to as Sheba. Okay. But Sheba is Ethiopia, which is already considered Judah. Oh. Well, it can't be that because, it can't be that because Judah's inheritance must have been in Israel. Okay, and where is Israel? Palestine, of course. Did you forget from 1945? Harry Truman acknowledged it. 1945, so that is Israel, Palestine, and Judah's inheritance would have to be somewhere there. So don't look for Sheba in Ethiopia. Look for Sheba, Beersheba, in Palestine. But I'm telling you no. Remember, man, from Dan to Beersheba. And also when you look at this now, this Sheba here. So Beersheba is Sheba. So you can forget about calling it that and just refer to it as Sheba. Because in the scripture, the sister that is known as Mary Magdalene, do you know what they refer to her as? She is called Mary of Magdala. Magdala is also in Ethiopia. In fact, there is a city in Ethiopia by the name of Adama, and it said that it was a name from Adam himself, the creation of Adam himself. Haile Selassie I changed the name of the city and changed the name to Nazareth. Haile Selassie changed the name to Nazareth. So when you understand these little science, You may say, oh, that don't prove anything. Okay, I could understand if you don't see that as something significant. But to me, it fits well with all we have been saying thus far. Now look at these mountains here. These mountain area, and this is one thing that Ethiopia is known for. Ethiopia is known for its mountainous region, the highest peaks, the highest Ras Dashan in the area known as the Simeon Mountains. Now, what I found etymologically speaking, as I said, maybe the only Hebrew word I may know is shalom, but I know enough to know that in Hebrew you have shalom, and then when you check the Islamic brothers, they're telling you salam, you know, and these different things, shalom, salam, salem, in English is peace. But the point is shalom, salam. You could see there's a similarity in the sound. So in the same way here, these are the Simeon Mountains. Now what I found interesting is this, that according to what we just read in Joshua, it said that Judah was given Sheba. You just read it, eh? Judah was given Sheba. Historically, Ethiopia has this link with Judah. Judah was given Sheba. And in the midst of Judah, it said so. This is the inheritance of Simeon. So Simeon was given his inheritance inside, in the midst of Judah inheritance, which Judah was given Sheba. And mystically in the midst of Sheba, the highest set of mountains are referred to up to this day as the Simeon Mountains. And anyone that understands the science of etymology can see that Simeon and Simeon, especially when you understand the vowels, it's the same. It's the same thing you do with Aman and Amen and Amun and these different things, you know, and Patar and these different things when you change the A and put it to an I, and Impu and Ampu is the very same thing. You know, in fact, if you were to look at it, it's SMN would be the symbol of Simeon, and Simeon is the exact same thing. So even my good brother, I think, let me just make one last key point and drive this home. You know, one last key point. Oh man, I have so many different things to touch upon, but let me deal with it in this way. No, let me touch this point here too. Yeah, man, because this is a key point. This is a key point. Let me touch this one here. In fact, let me seal with this point, and I'll leave the other point for those who would take it and make it a business to contact us and purchase a copy of this book for themselves. I think it's obvious that it's good reading, you know, and something that I'm sure you would not pick up anywhere else as far as the concept and how we are bringing it out here. Listen to this. 2 Chronicles chapter 33, verse 14. King James Version. Now after this, he is King Manasseh, a king by the name of Manasseh. After this, he built a wall without the city of David. Now, without is like an old English word, means around. So after this, he built a wall without the city of David on the west side of Gihon in the valley, even to the entering in at the fish gate, pardon me, and compassed about Ophel, and raised it up a very great height, and put captains of war in all the fenced cities of Judah. All right. And I had here, let me just read my own writings. There is a debate over which city in Israel is the city of David, Jerusalem or Bethlehem. Both Jerusalem and Bethlehem are located in modern-day Israel. But the book of Chronicles states that the city of David was to the west of Gihon. Now the question is, where is Gihon? Genesis chapter 2, verse 30. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same it is that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And I mean, we can, go to our maps again and just highlight, of course, the great River Nile. And according to what we are seeing here, okay, look at this, the River Nile. According to that scripture, the city of David. Now, the city of David is where Christ was born. Christ was born in the city of David. And according to the Old Testament, the city of David is on the west side of the Gihon, the west side of the river that encompass the whole land of Ethiopia. Do you know that the ancient Ethiopians, the Batawi, say that Christ was born in a cave in Ethiopia? So now, what are we saying here? That Christ was not born in Bethlehem? No, Christ was born in Bethlehem. But where they are telling you Bethlehem is today, that is a lie. Every time fire, Holy Manuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Yes, fire. Where are we? I'm not hearing you. I think you're muted.
I take it off mute. Family, you see the priest email right there. He has, I think, 3 books on PDF. If you would like to purchase the book, there's the priest email right there. He gave us quite a bit. And so I don't think some of the people was in the chat room, I don't think understood. You were dealing within the confines of the Bible.
Yeah.
And a lot of our people was dealing with this strictly history, but you were dealing within the confines of the Bible that the Hebrews believe in. So, and showing that everything that you in that book is location wise was in Africa. The very people that you say that you are not related to. So the priest was dealing with within the confines of the book, whether he believes in the book, whether I do believe in the book. That's not what he was dealing with. He was dealing with what the book says and right, what the book said and what is the word? Geography on the geography wise, where the location of these places were. That's what he was dealing with.
Right. Well, I'm just kind of running through the comments here. I think maybe you would have blocked some of them, but no, as you said, really, whether I believe in the Bible, that wasn't it. And
I gave a couple.
Yeah, you see, that's the problem. We are very childish in our outlook. If you can't have a discussion like this, you're in problems. Trust me. When somebody can bring, and let me tell you, I'm accustomed to this. I would put something on the table factually. I would give you at least, let's say, 20 solid points. And people will come in the comments and just, oh, he's talking foolishness. They would not refute your point scholarly, but they would tell you you're talking foolishness, or don't listen to him, or cut him off, or this was a waste of my time, all sorts of things. And I mean, the reality is, to be honest, my brother, a lot of us, we are on some different frequency. Sometimes you just have to understand. A lot of people, I mean, that's their life. They like to argue. They like to complain. They don't like to resolve things. Just naturally, trust me. A lot of people just have it within their heart. They love to argue. They love to complain. They like to be upset. You don't think they love being in the car jam in the morning and traffic jam, you know. They love that, blowing the horn, hurry up and drive, you're gonna make the light turn red. They love that. That feeds them. If they didn't have that, they would be done biting the nails and going crazy. So sometimes even us, my Lord, on this side, you know, we have to understand them to some degree, you know what I mean? Because even in the same Bible, when I read the Bible, sometimes I like baffled. You know, Moses, these Israelites in the thousands would get up and diss Moses, and Moses, you and Aaron, you're this and that and this and that. And then God would come down and strike them and open the earth and swallow them and all sorts of things. And by the next morning, they're back at Moses' door again, and where's the water you said that coming last night? I need to wash my skin, and you know, and they upset, and more fire come down on them, and the next morning they come back again like rats or cockroaches. So, you know, as the Moses mind, we have to be wise and know how to deal with them, you know. And sometimes Moses just beg God for mercy against them too, you know. So we can do some of that too. My Lord. Yes, but as you're asking about the books here, well, let me just go back to my share again. Where am I? And I think where is my sharing now? I'm coming there, my brother. I'm coming there. You see that? No, I don't think you've seen it. All right. Okay, don't worry. All right. Anyway, you see that? Tell me if you see that.
Yes.
Okay, you're seeing that. Okay, really. Okay, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, so basically that is what it is. What we were just going through there was one of our 3 books that you were speaking of that we are currently offering at a special package, and the true biblical land of Israel. Well, you got a little tour through it a moment ago, but it's much more than that. You know, I actually bring it home and speak about the ancient kingdom of Norway. That was one of the points I was jumping to, but I said, let me hit the city of David point. And even to that point, I mean, it's undeniable. Even when Solomon was crowned king, they said Solomon was put on a donkey. Him and 2 other people were walking beside him, and he went down to the Gihon and baptized himself and come back home, like just down the river and come back home. That really good. He jumped on the donkey and they went down to the river, baptized Solomon to anoint him king, and he came back home. It wasn't no month-long journey. You can't leave from Bethlehem in Palestine on no donkey and just ride down the hill to the River Nile and come back home before the sun set. Impossible. You understand? So you could see that there's a different science here to put together, but believe me, it's deeper than even what we're speaking of here. Much deeper. That is why when they find like they say they found the seal of Hezekiah, the seal of Jezebel too, and these seals were found with in the Levant area too. They were found with the Kepra beetle and the ankh and these different symbols on them. So you got to look into that aspect of it, to the point that those amongst us who, for example, totally believe that the biblical characters did not exist at all, and those of us who pride ourselves on scholarly information and evidence and primary facts and all of these things and receipts and all of these things. I hear some of us say now, well, Solomon didn't exist, but Hezekiah existed. And I say, okay, Solomon, no. Why? Because they don't find evidence of Solomon, but they found evidence of Hezekiah. Okay. Wow. So we cannot say, okay, Hezekiah exists according to what you say because they found a little seal. All right. And these fellas are known to make things up, hide them, and dig them back up to it. But let's just say it's the truth. So if Hezekiah does exist, to me, it adds to the story of Solomon existing, because it's like one story there. You know what I mean? You know, so we got to be careful how we deal with science. But anyway, so this is the book Anu, my good brother, Anu, Ancient and Modern, which really goes into, as we say here, the spirit of Antigua. It's called Anu Revisited. On the cover, you could see us highlight some of the gigantic megaliths. Brother, every time that I know you had all intention to come down and visit us here in Antigua to get a special hike and tour to Green Castle Hill. We're having a hike tomorrow. Tomorrow is the summer solstice, the 21st day of June. So we're having a very special hike in the afternoon for anyone who is in Antigua that may be watching you and you didn't get the word. We're meeting tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. at the Ebenezer gas station. And we'll take our train from there and we'll be going amongst the megaliths. I mean, these are countless of megaliths, my good brother, right here in Antigua. You know, a megalithic site that can stand shoulder to shoulder with almost any other site that's on this planet here, because the megaliths naturally protrude out of the earth and they align with the movements of the stars. So it makes the hill and it makes the island a very unique and very special place. A stargate, to be clear. And just like how I broke down what I broke down a moment ago, in the same way, we break down all the information in this book, which is known as Anu. The name Anu says it all, ancient and modern. And as I said, the heavens declare. Of course, in our previous program with you, my good brother, we did, go through this book, at least some aspects of it, obviously. And this book, The Heavens Declare the Glory, Rastafari and the Cosmos, really shows you where theology meets astronomy. And of course, what we were just running through a moment ago, which is the true biblical land of Israel. Now, usually each of these books go for a value of $20 United States currency. But my good brother, we're having a special where for a limited time where you get the three books for only $50 plus we do our nightly recorded radio program, which is the Shock of the Hour radio program, and we have subscribers internationally to that program. And anyone who orders these three books, we give you a month worth subscription to free to the Shock of the Hour radio program. That's a program that's recorded every evening, Monday to Thursday. Just more information and more vibes, guests and interviews, documentaries. Very upward program, my good brother. So basically, as you said, you've given them the email address. That is really what they would have to do. Just email us and we'll take it from there, my good brother. Blessed love.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Priest, for giving me another segment on my little channel. I hope to hear from you on an ongoing basis, sir. To come on here, Priest, and
yes, my brother.
Some information. And I just want to share something on someone on the screen here, family. You see that mighty elder right there?
That's Sam Brown, isn't it?
Yes, Brother Sam Brown was an elder that I had the privilege of sitting at the feet of probably back about 30 years ago. He used to come to Washington along with him and Ross Pedal.
Yes.
And he had a nephew, shout out to Ross Abraham in Washington, D.C., and come to Park Meridian Apartments. I never will forget it, on 16th Street. And Ross Sam Brown would come every summer and stay almost a whole summer sometime with his nephew. And I was fortunate to be able to come up to the apartment and sit at his feet and learn and drink in the wisdom that this mighty elder had. One of the first Garveyites too. I might add. Yeah, family, go study who is Ross Sam Brown. He's in the history. All you have to do is look him up.
Yes, my brother. And give thanks for even that, highlighting some of those ancient ones that have, left their mark amongst us, guys. We have to continue to teach the history, guys. We can't forget them, my brother. Definitely can't forget them. Yeah, I really I scrolling through your comments here. I see some of the comments there, man. All right. Anyway, it's all right.
There's
no problem.
Form Cannabis Burn. Shout out to the Bamboo King. My brother who sent these articles to me. Cannabis burned during worship by ancient Israelites. Now, priest. Now, I had always heard that it was burnt on King Solomon's grave, but you mean to tell me that they finding ganja in the tombs now that dates back all of this time, priest?
And okay, and that's amongst, according to this, by the ancient Israelites. Well,
yes.
Even the highlights, I saw a comment here where someone was like they were telling someone else that I was trying to explain. I'm kind of paraphrasing. I can't find the comment now, but they were showing that the priest was explaining that Israel is not that the place there has no value in that scriptural understanding, but it's just much, much more than what they're saying. Really, something not right. And it's not as if they're saying, well, this is peace. They're saying, well, this is it. You know what I mean? So that's why when certain scriptures like, ye not unto me as the children of the Ethiopians or children of Israelites come in. Because that thing now about the cannabis in the tombs, we see that in certain places. You find that in Afghanistan, you find that in ancient Persia, in China. Several of the ancient tombs they are found the ganja buried with some of the ancient kings and even regular folks, if you want to call them regular folks. The seeds, they have something that is made from the seeds when they kind of roast the seeds. A lot of them have been found with roasted seeds in Japan, China, Mongolia, these different parts of the world. India, of course, is well known for using the ganja, the hemp. It was called Masafayan. It was called Bang. I think that's where they get the word bong from. So the ganja itself is an ancient, substance. They want to try all sorts of way to make it look bad today and try to call it drugs. And even now that they're kind of, softening up on it, they're telling you now, well, it's very good, but you shouldn't smoke it though. No. I mean, you just come to the party. You just come all the years Rasta getting licks and blows and beat up for this holy tree. You know what I mean? And you never found nothing good about the tree. Nothing. It was the devil's plant. You know what I mean? Reefer madness. And now that's something going on and maybe you could make a few dollars from it. All of a sudden, yeah, I mean, it's good. It's very good for this and that. But you shouldn't smoke it. Now who make you the authority all of a sudden when you hated it yesterday? And we've been the one embracing it ever since, So it's an ancient thing, my good brother. It wasn't just used as tea. We used to blaze it up in our chalwa and send the smoke up to the heavens, my lord. Yes, my lord, give thanks to the straight man. And as it said, I will come again, man. Don't worry, and we'll do something on the next level. We have different levels we can touch. Different levels.
Give a strong, powerful shout out to the Bobo Ashanti community. Shout out to Ross Sirius, the witness, out on the West Coast. Come on, my brother Ross, my Bobo Locks. I'm ready for you to get on Baba TV, my Ross. Powerful shout out to brother Sirius, the witness, from the Bobo Ashanti Nation.
And I must say, even yourself, man, I open anytime because I'm sure some may reach out to you after this program and may want to know, man, what the brother's saying there, man. But you see, the thing with me now, the reality with me, I don't even want to go into how many individuals have put this to it. I have taken my time over the years because this is the second time I'm actually doing the book. I really did it. And I've mailed out this in a challenge form. I think by now to over 1,000 people, but this is over a kind of long period of time. To universities, whether it be Christian universities, Jewish universities, governor generals, prime ministers. I think the Queen of England get her copy. I mean, we don't play around with this. What it is, we sent out the challenge. It was actually a challenge. It's only lately I say I ease off that challenge thing because nobody really stepping up. We actually had it as a challenge. We sent out the challenge to even the media houses from BBC all the way down to CNN, because this concept of Palestine being Israel runs very deep. It goes beyond religion. See, this is what I'm talking about. Some of the people I run it through your chat, I see is religion, some people aren't. This go beyond religion. You hear what I say about Harry S. Truman? People need to go and research the Balfour Agreement. So now we looking at these Israelis and check the language. They're not Israelites. They say that for themselves. They're Israelis. It's two different people. They're not the same. You know what I mean? So when you really study that politically now, this is really both church and state, because it's a political statement, even down to the Holocaust. And this kind of thing, these things have been put in the eye of the people for them to gravitate to these things. So it's almost like a worship of these people and their concept. When you are the real light of the world, when you is the real light, you can't forget that. Let's get a little metaphysic here. You is the real light. Your chakras when combined is what releases 144,000 petals of light when your chakra powers is combined. So you is the real light. 144,000 petals, wherein the Bible speaks of 144,000 elect of God, light again, because the speed of light, which is 186,000 miles per second. But when light travels in an arc, like in the halo, when light travels in an arc, you have to measure it in minutes of arc per second. And it's 144,000 minutes of arc per second that light travels in a circle. So we are the real light. That's why the light, the halo is behind the head of the Christ. There is real light. The original people. You began the program by saying that the fact that we are the original man, that alone, just everything just fall into place. We are the Israelites. We are the gods. We are the angels. What else did us talk about there? You know what I mean? We are the avatars. We are all them things, and we can sit down and prove it. And it's not religion we're talking about. You know what I mean? We're talking high science. You don't have to be religious to be in the Bible. The Bible is highly scientific. There's a lot of hidden codes. You know what I mean? Whether I believe in Jesus, Moses, or Abraham, I can't deny what I've already unraveled from that book. Because you say so, I must say, wow, you know what I mean? He's right. Let me follow him. And I have already unraveled the mysteries from out that book. Got a book well coded, well put together. We must remember that book, whether it's watered down or not, it was directly copied from Egyptian scrolls. This is another fact. I really, another program I gone into, but I can run through it quickly, but some other time we can go through it more factually and take our time. But basically, from our understanding, especially the Old Testament, what we have as the Old Testament was taken from a book, a document known as the Septuagint. And the Septuagint now, from what we have been taught, was translated from the Torah. Now, that's good to believe, But if we put everything on the table and say, okay, all right, let's get this clear. Where you say the Septuagint come from? It comes from the original Torah. All right. Okay, good. Can you bring that? Let me see. Wow. That's a good one, brother. We can't find it, really. I don't know. We lost it a couple 100 years ago. Okay, you can't find that original Torah. Okay, fair enough, no problem. Okay, let me ask you, where did all of this take place? Oh, this took place in Alexandria, Egypt. Egypt, you said. All right. Alexandria. Yeah, in fact, in the library of Alexandria. Oh, in the library of Alexandria. Yeah, in fact, in a room that was annexed to the library that they call the museum, where you get the modern day word museum from. And interestingly, inside of this little annex building, which eventually burned to the ground, by the way, I'm telling you, inside of this annex building were the vast majority of the scrolls that Ptolemy took from the different temples all throughout Kemet, Temeri we're talking about, and brought these scrolls and stuff all of them inside of this library of Alexandria. And according to history, 70 or 72 scholars came from Israel and came to Egypt, Kemet, and came to Alexandria, and they were locked away in this little room for days and days and days. I think it went into months and months and months. And then they came out with the book, the Septuagint. In fact, the original Septuagint, I think they cannot even find that neither. But anyway, they came out with the Septuagint, which is the Greek version of the modern day Old Testament as such that we know of. Now, basically, what I'm saying is that if you ask an individual, what is the oldest known Bible that exists, the oldest full Hebrew version of the Bible, that's just about 1,000 years old. Remember, the Septuagint was translated between 200 and 300 years BCE. BCE, in fact, Christ was said to be reading the Septuagint too. When he was in the temple and he was reading Isaiah, and this is the Lord's Day, Isaiah, the book, it is said that he was reading the Septuagint. So the Septuagint existed even before him. So the Septuagint is not the New Testament. The Septuagint is that came before the Old Testament as we know it now, the way that it has been given to us. But it is said to have been translated from the Torah, the Hebrew Torah that preceded it. That may be so. Hear me out good. That may be so. This is a very important point that I'm making. That may be so. But can we prove that? Number one, we can't find the book that it was translated from. I'm not saying that that disqualifies it, but I mean, we got to at least consider that. Why? Because I think by now most people can relate to the stories in the Bible. Many of them are very similar to stories seen in ancient Egypt. And it may sound strange to some people, right? But there's nothing really wrong with that. Because if you go through history in general, many different cultures, even in Africa itself, share the same story in different ways, with different names. Look at the Dogon's creation story and the Kemetic creation story. Even in Kemet, you have different time frames where you have, you know what I mean, the same thing, the same books, the Book of the Dead and the coffin text and pyramid text, similar story, different gods introduced, you know. So it is an ancient science in general. But what I'm saying is that it's interesting that many of our stories, from the Noah flood story, the science of Jonah and the fish and all of these things, are very similar to the ancient Kemetic theology, if you call it that, that we see on the walls. Yes, a lot of the scrolls were burnt up, but what was on the scrolls is what is on the walls. And you know that the information is still on the walls. No matter how much they came with the hammer and the chisel and see how much nose they could hit off, but the information is still written in stone. So what I'm saying is, you're saying that the Septuagint comes from the Hebrew Torah. I am saying that the people that translated the Torah into the Septuagint, they went into a room, Baba, every time. And inside of this room, if there was a Torah on the table, there were thousands of scrolls on the wall, rolled up and put in compartments that they could have studied. And it's quite interesting that the stories that went into the Septuagint that has now become our Bible are very, very, very similar to them stories on those scrolls. And interestingly, again, the Hebrew Torah is missing in action. Not feeling no way, but I gotta defend my culture first. So them stories there were taken from the ancient Kemetic writings. Personally, I'm not saying something's wrong. That's our African culture. We pass down stories. I ain't telling you to go throw the Bible in the rubbish now, because that's our science. The same writings on the scrolls were hand-me-downs from the writings on the walls. That also went down to the writings on the coffins. You know what I mean? All of them were taken from the writings in the stars. So let's be a little mature about this. And this who come first and who come last. We're not in no mood for no long debate right now. This is the age of knowledge, information, and wisdom. Not just information. They have you fool off with the information highway. Time to get some wise mind, not wisdom, pardon me. Some wise mind right about now. So you see, my good brother, and I can go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. In fact, we're going to do that. I believe maybe the next time we come together, we're going to sit down on that Bible subject now. You know, since a lot of people can't lose the thought. You see, you try to have a sensible discussion amongst godly beings and say, listen, man, we ain't talking religion. Let's just check the manuscript. People still can't do that. Oh, Jesus never exists. Oh, there's no J in Hebrew. What you talking about? My brother, if it's one thing with me, when I have any conversation with people, I like to stick on the point too. I don't like to go here and go there and lose the point to something else. And I think because a lot of us, we very dogmatic, so we can't even sit down and have a proper conversation with someone else that may not see things exactly like us. We need to get away from that. You know what I mean? I'm not here to fight no one, my Lord, but I'm positive. You see the points I stand on? I would like to see the human being that can move me. My Lord, bless
you. Priest, give thanks. Give thanks, my brother and elder. It's always good to hear from you. And I gotta get down there in Antigua.
Yeah, man, I'm looking for you, man. No worries.
Oh, man. I want to go straight to Greencastle Hill.
Yes, and you have to visit the Rastafari and see all the marijuana we growing around here, my lord. Straight up, you got not die. Yeah, freedom, really. At least for Rastafari, anyway. Yes, my lord. But give thanks again. You know, yes. And enough power to Lalibela first again. Let me give thanks to Desta and Ras Justice. I see in the comment, you know, giving enough respect to the fullness and give thanks even to Ben Israel. I guess something there kind of shocked him. You know, give thanks to Angeline Nori. Give thanks continually. The PADA and Theo Carroll and the fullness thereof. Blessed love, man, all those who in tune. And yes, my brother, I know we'll do it again.
Yes, and on that note, I want to take us on home. Shout out to the brother El Pancho from Yard who made me this nice little this Baba TV drop. Yeah, the Bamboo King who made it all possible.
Yeah, man, let me hear you.
Baba TV every time for you, and the sleepy guy and the rest of us, Almighty God, you know. Great man, live on, man. Man, look Recognize Martin Luther King, man. Pay prophet, man, with the center down here. Bob Marley, similar. King, peace, and prophet, Marcus, God's word come to pass. Don't forget about for a God, some great man. Prophet distinct, you know, that come to pass with pagan. We coming from the grassroots. Babylon flow the grass, you. But the Iraq, they come to rest, you. We not go watch that down like that. The grassroots. Babylon flow the grass, you. But the Iraq, they come to rest, you. Baba team, we don't watch that down like that. Look, they shoot. They can teach you from Marcus down for a gun. Now God, the great man, man, so lost. They teach you about the mystery. For the one who's teaching about Muslim and thing. You need teaching about Marcus Garvey. You need teaching about the great learning. Who want to know the history about the great Gandhi. All more them you want to mystery. Baba even more fire go to listen century. And punch up on the mic, well, vice versa. Come on, come on, we